Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 14 of the BamaPreps Podcast. We are back for week 5 of the season. We've got some Thursday games for you today, and we've got some Friday games, and there's also a big old hurricane coming through. So we'll see if some games get moved. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But let's take a look back at last week, where we were at, sort of how everything's going. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host TP Hammock. TP, former writer of the Auburn Plainsman. I don't really know what you want me to attribute to you, TP. What all do you want me to say to gas you up for our listeners? I don't know, man.
I write for Sports Illustrated's
You
Alabama
do.
coverage. That
You
is
do.
that is true. I do that. It's a lot of fun. I every Friday night, it gets posted every Saturday morning, I should say. Do 5 things we learned about the state of Alabama. I write that. Burn the midnight oil, if you will say. I like to listen to the AHSAA scoreboard show, which if we have time later, I'll explain something funny that happened on that scoreboard show where they had a little bit of a um,
Uh-oh.
misinformation.
Uh-oh. That's not good.
Is that, yeah, you wouldn't expect that from the AHSAA's radio show, but they sure did. But I always publish that every night. It gets published every Saturday morning. It gets uploaded every Saturday morning. I like to try to cover every part of the state. Some are good things that we've learned. Sometimes they're bad things that we learn. So yeah, I'm. But today I wear my BamaPreps hat,
There you
and
go.
I'm here to represent BamaPreps.
Absolutely.
Vlad. Recently I got to go to a school. I won't name the school, but they know I was there recently, and in Alabama, and
Really?
yes, and I got to talk with them. They said, when you going to talk about us on Bama Preps? And by the way, no, when are you going to talk about us on Bama Preps? Why weren't you here with Bama Preps? When's Bama Preps going to come to our game? I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. But the point is that there are a lot of schools out there that do like us, and there are probably some.
Surprisingly.
There's probably some of y'all who probably don't like us that much because of who we pick. But or what we do.
Yeah,
But yeah, opinions aside, it's great to be on the podcast today.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I completely blinked on that Sports Illustrated thing. Um, yeah, no, that's funny you mentioned that about the school. I'll have coaches that I had no idea that listen and everything like that. And I actually had a funny interaction with Clay Chalkfield's receiver coach, Justin Burnett. And when I went there for the Clay Ramsey game, he, it was a rain delay, so I was sitting in the Clay locker room, just off into a corner, working on some photos to post. And he came over and he walks by me and he says it loud. He goes, "Bama Preps put us at 7." Now he's talking about the Power 8 for 6A that we put out earlier. And he goes, "BamaPreps put us at 7." And I was like, I was a little taken aback because I was like, man, you know, it was the thing I was always
You point
taught.
is that you talking to me? You talking about me?
The thing that I always knew was a non-negotiable was don't listen to media. And that's something Coach Freeman said. He said, don't listen to what people say. Don't read the tabloids. It was always the Shelby County Reporter. Whatever newspaper it was, and I'm sure it was just him just trying to give us fuel for the game. You always look for something. You're playing T County. You're gonna win. But Coach Freeman's like, "Can you believe they only picked us to win by 40 points?" Something like that. And,
Yeah.
I'm hyperbolizing a little bit, but that's the gist of what it was. And it's really interesting that, people do pay attention and people do care. So, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. Enough gloating. Enough gloating, TP. We've got football to talk about. And we were at the Bama Preps was on location at the Parker Carrollton game this Friday. It was an ESPN2 game. ESPN did their full high school football coverage, their full rollout for this event. It's the second time they've been in Alabama. I was actually at the first time they're in Alabama this year with that Thompson Grayson game, and Georgia got us again. Hey,
They
Grayson
they
beat
always find
Thompson.
a way to, man.
Dude, I tell you what, man, We got to get this monkey off our back. I know that Oxford beat Central Carrollton earlier this season, and there might have been one or two other Georgia teams that lost to Alabama teams, but there's just a clear difference in talent and size of school, and coaching, and everything under the sun. They got a lot more talent in Georgia. They got a lot more people in Georgia. That Atlanta Metro. I don't have the exact number for you, but it's huge. Um, and there's a lot of talent that comes through there. It's no wonder Kirby's able to recruit so well at Georgia because
Well,
they got a lot.
it's crazy, because Carrollton, this. Carrollton's not in like Atlanta. It's not even close to Atlanta.
Yeah,
It's like kind of in its own area. It's like really east. Like it's not that far from Alabama. So for them to just we checked it last week. They were ranked eighth in the MaxPreps polls, which is
yeah, in the
usually about the
country.
same. Yeah, in the whole entire country, not in the state of Georgia, in the country. They were like I think two spots behind like IMG Academy. And this is a small. This isn't a big city in Georgia.
Yeah,
Who
they
the
just got a
heck
good
talks
football
about
team.
Carrollton, Georgia? And they got a kid going to USC, and they got a receiver that plays at Alabama now, and Caleb Odom. I mean, they got a lot of good kids, and I think that just goes to show that I don't know what's going on in the state of Georgia athletically for high school football, but it's not just us. They
Yeah.
kind of kick everyone's butt. It seems like Vlad.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the top team in Georgia coming over to Alabama in a random week 5 game against Parker. It doesn't get any easier for Parker next week, and we'll touch on it later. They have to play Hoover, which is going to be another really good test for them.
And
And
one last thing about that. You know what sucks is that I don't believe that Parker will go to Carrollton next year because um, we in the state of Alabama, you probably have noticed this, and the listeners probably have. Whenever teams play out of state, they rarely they rarely play that same game the next year. You
yeah,
you realize that you played in it.
yeah,
It's because uh, I think all the states around the state of Alabama are on different reclassification periods. So after this season, Georgia reclasses. They shuffle everything, so they have to get new schedules. So
yeah. I think it is.
yeah,
Yeah, because Alabama
yeah,
reshuffled this year.
yes, yeah. They reshuffle this year, and then Georgia does it this year, and so that's why next year they won't do it. But then, and so they'll schedule more teams from out and around, and I don't know who like Hoover or Parker or the Thompsons of the world. They'll find someone, but I don't know. Or the Central Phoenix City who's playing IMG this week, which we'll talk
Yeah,
about a little bit
yeah.
later. I don't know who they'll schedule, but I think it sucks because I'd love to see Parker go over there to Carrollton because I don't know if you've seen their field, Vlad. It is beautiful. They have a beautiful setup over there in Carrollton, Georgia.
Yeah, I
No
believe
wonder
it.
a bunch of
I, b-
athletes go over there.
I believe it, yeah. It's interesting because it was always a struggle to find in-state games for us. The AHSA will throw you a bone sometimes with their kickoff classic, and that happened last year for Thompson with their game against Opelika. But it's not something that happens all the time. And I remember, it was a rumor that we were going to go play in Las Vegas against Bishop Gorman, IMG Academy.
Really?
Yeah, Thompson was supposed to play IMG Academy, I think last year. Um,
Mm-hmm. Was it
and
last year or 2 years ago? Whenever they had a
I think it
hurricane.
was last year. And then the
Mhm.
hurricane came, and IMG canceled their game due to weather. Yeah, it was last year.
I
So
wonder. I wonder. Eerily enough, funny that we're saying that. I wonder if that's going to happen this year with Central Phoenix City
it
because they
could,
play
yeah,
this week.
yeah, absolutely.
So that may happen. So
I think the last time IMG played an Alabama team was Phoenix City 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. It's back when they had Jalen Epps
mhm.
at quarterback. Um, so yeah, you know what? That's interesting to think about. Hurricane Helene coming through right now. Going to be a lot of storm surge, and it is.
Yeah, around where I am.
Hey, are they gonna shut Disney down, or what do you think?
No, no,
No,
they will
no,
not.
no, they're gonna
No,
not.
we'll just get rained on, and I'll work through it and probably
Don't
catch
be
a cold.
ridiculous. I mean, that's Safari Adventure. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know if hurricanes take
yeah.
an account to that, but that'll be funny. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Anyway,
that's an interesting point. And we'll get back on this Parker Carrollton game. Carrollton ends up winning 48-26, and Parker didn't have their quarterback. Dylan Reese was out for this game. He's got a problem with his leg right now. I don't know the exact injury, so I'm not going to tell you anything that I know or don't know. But he was out, so they stuck Timothy Merritt, their four-star Miami commit safety, at quarterback. And well, it wasn't bad. Let me say this: Parker obviously going to be one-dimensional when you don't have a real quarterback back there. Um, and they were actually surprisingly really able to run the ball well between Merritt, Chancellor Sparks, and I believe his name is T.J. Gaines, number 5. I might be mistaken. Terrence Gaines, something along those lines, the Mortimer Jordan transfer. Um, but Parker was able to run the ball very well, and they were in this game for a while. 28-20 was your halftime score. Cam Newton showed up. That was cool. He looked like probably you did, TP. He looked like he was about to go wrangle a crocodile. That's the fit that Cam Newton had on, and it was hilarious. I was sitting in the end zone working on a score, and then I look over and I go, "Oh, huh, it's Cam Newton. How about that?" And and then I felt a presence of this huge, like, I think it was a security guard, and he was to my right, and then there was another security guard on the other side of him, and I'm like, yeah, that's to be expected. But Timothy Barrett played a good game for what he did. I think Parker really only threw the ball downfield twice. Other than that, it was just screens that really didn't work. But they were able to hit a pop pass. They ran that like Wake Forest slow read, and then they popped over top for one of their receivers. Um, and they scored that way. But the other 3 touchdowns that they scored were rushing. But the story of this game was just turnovers and miscues for Parker. And like I said, they were in the game for a while, but they had, a muff punt. They had a blocked punt that Carrollton returned for a touchdown, and they had 2 missed extra points. You have to be great in all 3 aspects of the game. If you want to beat a team the caliber of Carrollton, especially being the #1 team in Georgia, and they had those miscues. I think if a few other bounces go Parker's way, I think that we're talking about a much different ball game. But I'll say this, I was not disappointed. I know that I have dogged on Parker recently, but they looked like a very good football team. And, looking at Hoover next week, it's going to be another really interesting game. And I think that even without Dylan Reese, I think that Timothy Merritt still gives them a chance to win just because of, how explosive those running backs and that offense could be in the running game. TP, did you get a chance to watch any of it?
oh yeah, it's on ESPN too. I got to watch a lot of it. At first, I thought, well, Carrollton's going to run away with them, and but
Yeah, they were up 14
Parker,
nothing early, I believe.
yeah, and getting behind Juju Lewis without your starting quarterback certainly feels like a death sentence. But I will give all the credit in the world. Parker, that was impressive. That was as impressive as a loss as that there has been. I was so impressed. There was only one thing I would say, and I said this on the AHS FHS podcast. If they had a good special teams unit, not even a great one, just a good special teams unit, if they had worked on the special teams a little bit more, that game would have been a whole lot closer.
Yeah,
Legit, would have
absolutely.
been a whole lot closer. Didn't work out that way. It happens. But there's no question in my mind. Parker is the most talented team in the state, without
Absolutely.
question. Talented, absolutely. It feels like everyone that you see that is getting meaningful snaps will play college football somewhere where you will see them on Saturdays and one of those big conferences. It really does feel like that. They are that talented. And even with the offense now, with the new OC, and they didn't even have their starting quarterback, and they still were really good putting up points. So, and they're moving the ball. Sure, there were some hiccups here and there, but you're playing Carrollton. Um, I was very impressed. They probably won't see another team like Carrollton. I mean, I
No,
know
they
they're playing
won't.
Hoover, but let's say Hoover is not Carrollton. The only team that is similar to Carrollton is Saraland. And to face Saraland, you'd have to be in the championship.
That's
So, and
right.
that'd be doing something right. I was very impressed. I was gonna ask you, is Reese gonna play this week? Have you heard anything on that, Vlad?
I'm not sure. I'll talk to a few people, and we'll see this Friday. Playing that game. I believe it's at the Met. I'm not a billion percent sure on
I
that.
think you're
Um,
right. Hold on.
yes, I
As you,
think that game's at the Met, but Dylan Reese, I talked to him before the game
it is
actually.
at the Met.
He he uh he was walking out in crutches and he had a big
Ooh.
old chain on and I'm like, "Hey, you need some photos of you in your crutches." And I told him, I said, "Hey, you should go pad up and go stand by a Carrollton coach to make him think that you're going to be playing." But I mean, he was in pretty rough shape. So I'm not sure. I think Reese honestly could have played in that game, but I think that if he blew out his leg on national TV, I think the doctor that cleared him would probably lose his practice. So
Good point.
probably a smart move to sit him that week. And at the end of the day, these non-region games are just that. They're non-region. And they set you up well for the playoffs. And I think that this game did a lot more good than bad for Parker. Yes, it's a loss on the score sheet. Yes, the entire city of Birmingham came out to watch you lose. But you should not get discouraged from this. They played a very good team, and they scored more points than we did on Buford my senior year at Thompson. So, that's something to hang your hat on. I will say this about Juju Lewis and Carrollton. Juju, yes, he made an impact, but they did not throw the ball a ton. They really relied on their running game, number 21 and number 22. I don't know their names, but their two backs were very, very good. And Juju really was, I don't want to say a decoy because it's hard for a quarterback to be a decoy. And he made plays when he had to, but they did not throw the ball around like I thought they were going to. I remember Juju Lewis's freshman year. Um, they were scoring 40, 50 points every week, and just a different makeup of team for Carrollton. And they didn't have the biggest front seven. They had two very good edge rushers, but interior wise and linebacker wise, it's not. You'd expect the Georgia school to have, two 5 stars there sitting in the middle and a couple of big fat old defensive linemen that are going to stuff the run. Carrollton wasn't that. It's a very unique team makeup that they had, and I think that that worked to Parker's advantage because they did find holes in the running game and they did find a way to move the ball down the field. And that all that credit goes to Connor McGavin and his scheme that they had for this game. But yeah, closing remark for me with Parker is just impressive. And we'll touch on their game with Hoover, and we'll tell you what Hoover did as well this week. Any other big ones? Vestavia was leading Thompson at halftime, 17-14, and they end up pulling away and that one 31-17. Thompson struggled to move the ball for one reason only. It's because Vestavia had it the whole time. They didn't look terrible offensively, but Vestavia Hills just threw the kitchen sink at them, and it sort of feels like that was Vestavia's Super Bowl in a way. All the talk over the past couple of seasons has been how Vestavia has been the closest to beating Thompson in region, and no John Paul Head this year, no Jordan Ross this year, but they still looked good. And don't let that record, that 1-4 record, deceive you for Vestavia Hills. They are a team that will most likely, in my opinion, make the playoffs in Region Three, because they have just had an absolute murderous row of out of region games that we've touched on and talked about before. But they're going to be set up very well to play some of these games. And overall, I'm very impressed with Vestavia. A big one down in Region 2. Carver Montgomery beats Dothan, and this is one that we talked about. You picked Dothan, I picked Carver, and at the end of the day, this is a close game as we expected. Carver undefeated. They scored more points against Dothan than they did Smith Station. Where are you at right now with the Carver Montgomery Wolverines?
Well, I was very impressed. I told you if that game was 0-0 after the first quarter, it'd be a problem. It wasn't. It was, I think, 7-7 or something like that. It was a pretty good game, pretty back and forth.
Right.
You got to feel for Dothan, though. I mean, they've played three really, really good 7-8 teams,
They
and they have
have, and
lost
yes.
all of those games by 7 points. It's crazy. They're probably out of the playoff hunt now. They're not technically out, but if they lose to Auburn, or if they lose another region game,
They'll
they
be out.
are
Yeah,
certainly.
they'll
I
be
mean,
out.
I mean, unless they upset Auburn, they're out. And you gotta hate it for them. But Carver Montgomery, real deal. Um, do they now? They have a bye, and then they play Enterprise. That is a huge game. It's not
Yeah.
this week. Not this week. Next week, we'll talk about a lot more. But that'll likely decide who's third. But besides that, though, that was a really, really good football game. Really close. Came down to the wire, and Carver Montgomery proved that they belong. I feel like that was a proving of a point that they are not a flash in the pan, that they are here to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they take care of business with the games that we expect them to win and the games that we probably think they're going to lose, Carver Montgomery's a playoff team. And, if they can find a way to beat Phoenix City or if they can find a way to beat an Auburn, they're sitting in that 2 seed and they're going to have to go to Alabaster to play Thompson week two, round two of the playoffs. And I don't think that bodes well for Thompson. I'm going to be completely honest with you. There was a lot of cautious optimism with that group this year, and they've done nothing but prove us right. And with the way that Region 2 rankings coming out and the way that everything's looking right now, they just keep rolling. And the thing with Carver Montgomery is, you can't get down over one loss, can't get too high, can't get too low. But, they've got a bye week, a lot of non-region games this week. A lot of teams aren't playing. But, when they play Opelika, when they play Phoenix City, and when they play Auburn, they're going to cement themselves into the mix of this playoff. And I still think I would probably consider Dothan out right now. Auburn, Carver, Phoenix City, Opelika, and Enterprise are going to be your five. Only four make it out of that group. I think you look realistically and say maybe Opelika is going to be the odd one out, but they have not been bad this year.
No,
And
they have
they're
not.
still going to have a game against Enterprise. They're still going to have a game against Phoenix City and aforementioned Carver Montgomery. So very much still a lot on the table for Class 7A, especially in Region 2. I'm very excited to see how everything's going to go. We'll move down to Region 3 now, and we'll talk about
Now,
Hewitt-Trussville.
before we do that, can I tell the story
Absolutely.
of the okay? I want to tell the story real quick since it does involve Region 2. Then we'll move on to Region 3. So, if you don't know, on the AHSA radio show, you can listen to it on the radio. I know Vlad calls into one. I don't think it's the scoreboard show, but they have the scores on the four. It's the official AHSA radio show. There's plenty of other versions of it, but this is just the official one that I just listened to because it's just the one that I've always grown up listening to. Really well done, usually. On Friday,
Yeah.
I don't know how they came. I don't know the gentleman that was reading the scores. I don't know what came to him to not double think about reading this one off. But the game in question was Auburn versus Jag.
Oh
And
no.
unless they are playing a different sport other than football, it is likely that Auburn is going to win this. I don't follow Jag's other sports.
I
They
honestly,
may
I don't think Jag would beat
I mean,
Auburn in one thing. Maybe that's a little disrespectful, but
well,
you
I
know.
don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so they read off the score as Jag 45, Auburn 43.
Oh
And they said, "Oh
gosh.
wow, what a massive upset." I look up as I'm typing my article. I go, "There is no way that is true." I'm sorry if you are a Jag fan listening. I'm sorry if you are a Jag player. You guys know that it just felt very far fetched, and they moved, and they rolled with it, and they rolled with it, and they kept on with it, and they and eventually, like I don't know, 20 minutes later, they were like, "Oh, we would like a correction. Auburn won 47-0." I was like, "How did you get that mixed up?"
I don't
I
know.
can
I don't
understand if it
know.
was, let's say, if it's 43-6, for example, and the real score was 44-6, I understand. Misclick of a key happens every single week. But that? 45-43, you had Jag winning, and you didn't even think to double check that. Just be like, oh, we don't have an official score yet.
Yeah,
That was
that's
very interesting. So
that's when you gotta just kind of sit
that's what
on and think
happened with
about.
the official AHSAA radio show. It goes to show, guys, do your own research, because even then they don't know all the time. So that was my story about them. Love that show. I'll be listening on Friday night.
That's funny to think about. Imagine if that happened, though. I mean,
Well, I feel
well,
like it wouldn't be that. I feel like, I don't know, everyone would be talking about it instead of
yeah,
just like this on the official radio show would be like, oh well, look here. So,
I would have to have went on a damn IG live, and it's just like
I mean, hey, Jag, that would be really cool if y'all did that.
that would have
I
been
wish,
awesome.
I
That would have
wish
been.
it was true. We know it didn't happen, but you know
Yeah,
what? There's more teams to come, Jag. There's more teams to come. We
they're
hope
gonna
we
get
we
one
hope
this
the
year.
Jaguars get a victory.
They play Center Point next week, so
Ooh.
we'll see what that looks
Well, we'll,
like.
we'll hope. We'll hope for you guys.
I remember, and you guys might have seen it on our posts, we're gonna have Robertsdale on our pick'ems again this week. And
I'm sure that's gonna make people happy.
we absolutely root for the underdog. Hashtag pound the rock and all. But it's like when we posted the Columbia Huffman score. There's a bit of sicko in us where we just want to see what happens.
And
Um,
there were so many happy Huffman players.
I know, no, that was great. They were acting like they won the
That was
Super Bowl.
so cool. I was so happy for them.
Just
And I
happy they
wish,
scored
I
some
wish
points.
hey, Columbia is only an 11-point underdog this week.
Oh man, who did they play?
And East Lawrence.
Oh, come on, they got to get that one.
I it's
Ah,
been almost 10 years.
where's
So
Chickasaw when you need them? They need to play
Chickasaw.
Chickasaw. They need to play Chickasaw. Okay, how about this? How about this? If Columbia ever plays Fruitdale, wherever that game is, I am on location. That is the Bama Prep seal of promise.
Well,
Uh,
you're hearing it here first,
You're hearing
guys.
it here
Columbia,
first.
make the call. Make the call in the next reclassification
Head
period.
on, head on down to the Dale. Um, that elongated, stretched out pirate logo is going to look great on a Bama Preps graphic. I promise you. Let's make it happen. Um, but I digress. We'll move on. That Jack Smith Station game is going to be one for the ages. Um, but as we were saying with Region 3, um, Hewitt-Trussville was tied with Hillcrest Tuscaloosa 16-16 at the break. They end up winning that game 47-16. The skid for Hillcrest continues. Have not won a region game. They're right there with T County at the bottom. Obviously, I think they're a step above T County, but who knows? We'll find out next week or in the coming weeks. Excuse me, when they play T County. That's been one of the biggest Tuscaloosa games for a while. They haven't played it in recent years, and they got no choice but to play it now since they're in their region. So, T County, they'll probably be up for that game, but they've also had a tough start to the year. They lost to Oak Mountain 49-35. But just sort of looking at the Region 3 outlook right now, I think Thompson, Hoover, and Hewitt are your three that are going to make the playoffs. And Oak Mountain has also looked pretty impressive. They picked up their first region win against T County. And they had a tough loss to Prattville. Prattville is currently sitting at the 4 seed just because Vestavia Hills has had such a tough start to the year with their scheduling. But Prattville Vestavia, it's a game that's coming up here pretty soon. TP, where are you sort of at with Prattville? They lost 40-6 to Hoover this week, and obviously we talked about Vestavia losing to Thompson. Does Prattville have a chance in this game? Uh, where are you at with the Lions?
Prattville, we thought it'd be a lot closer game. They started off they started off the games leading 6-0.
Yep, they had that long
It
touchdown.
it did not last.
No,
As they lost 40-6. Does Prattville have a chance? Yes. I still think Prattville is good. I do. I think Hoover is just better than I think people thought, which is kind of crazy to say. But I think Prattville has a good shot. I think Do we? I think it's safe to say this is likely for the 4 seed in the play.
I would have reason to say that, yes.
I'm about to say it's reasonable to say this is likely for the 4 seed. Now this is next week. This they get a week off. Recover, regroup, look at the film. Vestavia. They also have the week off. It's at Prattville. Well, I say that lightly.
It's
Prattville's
at
doing
Wetumpka.
stadium. I was about to say it's at Wetumpka. It's if you don't know, Prattville's doing stadium renovations. Wetumpka has a brand new field, really nice field. Letting them use it, nice of them. But yeah, so I think that helps a little bit. If I was to pick right now, I'd probably pick Prattville by 3 points.
Really?
But
Over
yeah,
Vestavia?
you know, I think Vestavia is really good. I do, but I think they're really improving. I just wonder how much that loss took out of them against
Yeah,
Thompson.
no, that I agree with that. Like I mentioned earlier, that is sort of their Super Bowl over the past few years, and they have not managed to beat Thompson, and that's tough for them. This bye week will definitely help. Both teams on a bye, as you mentioned, and I think that Vestavia, they don't have. I wouldn't call their offense explosive. I think they're very much a run first football team. They they'll scheme you up better than anybody. And they schemed up Thompson for the first half of that football game. They're able to move the ball very well on the best defense in the state, being the Thompson Warriors. So I think that it's going to be a challenge for Prattville. And as we mentioned, this is a prove it year for Coach Wallace. And there's talent in Prattville, but I think this is one that's pretty hard to predict. I'm gonna probably go with Vestavia in this football game. I don't really know, what it's all gonna be like on game day.
If
Hopefully,
it was at Vestavia, I would go with Vestavia.
yeah,
But
no,
it's
there's a
it's
lot of
it's
truth in
and I
that.
say this in air quotes. It's at Wetumpka or it's at Prattville. So that's my
Yeah,
only big
I
big
think
thing.
I think that if Prattville was smart, they'd play it in the Crampton Bowl, and elicit some PTSD from that Carver Montgomery game for Vestavia. But what do I know? Um, Outside of that, I think that's all there is to say on Class 7A. We'll move down to some of the games that happened in Class 6A, and another preview that we're gonna have for you here coming up is Saraland Catholic Montgomery. Now, Saraland took care of McGill
Ooh.
Tulin 34-12. And that's not a lot of points for a Saraland team. I still think that KJ Lacey is out, I believe. But there's
He
another.
did not play in that game. That was a sophomore. He threw for I believe 3 or 4 touchdowns
That's pretty good, I'd say.
in his first start. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Saraland's had some nicks in the armor. But if KJ plays against Catholic, I think the choice is pretty easy there. But if he doesn't, Um, it's something to think about. It really is. Catholic Montgomery is a 3A punching above their weight in 5A due to competitive balance. I think everybody knows that. And Saraland, we saw what happened when they played Jackson. I think that, if Jackson didn't have the depth issues of being a 4A team, I think they could have beaten Saraland in that one, with the talent they have. I think that, Catholic has similar talent to Jackson, but where would you go? Now we don't want to spoil all our pick'ems, but is this going to be a Saraland victory? Does KJ Lacey play? Do you know anything about that?
Personally, no. I'd have to ask our great friend of the program, Larry. He would probably know a lot more about if he is. If I had to guess with no intel whatsoever, I'd say yes. I can't imagine him not playing in this game. Um, Something to think about. I was told this. I believe at Catholic, I'm not sure if it's recruits or if it is star players or whatever, but they're top 5 in the state for talent, like recruited talent or something like that. Like there's
Yeah,
something crazy like that.
really.
And here's the thing. You said it. Catholics playing up a weight class. They're fighting up. They're going for the double champ basically in UFC or boxing terms. Um, Here's the thing though. Catholic is a 3A school. I don't think a lot of people know that if you're listening. If you're not from the Montgomery area, or if you are from the Montgomery area, you may not realize it. The only reason why Catholic is in 5A is because of competitive balance. In all
Yep,
honesty, due to numbers, they are a 3A school
absolutely.
and they are playing up and they are kicking teams behinds as a 3A school. I mean, they are loaded. They are a really, really good team. They got some new players in. I know they got a kid from Greenville who got an Auburn offer before the season, like a week before the season
Oh,
started.
really?
He's incredible. I believe I want to say he's the slot receiver. He is insane. Their defense is still really good. It's not as good as last year whenever they pitched 9 shutouts in 15 games, but they are still, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
But they still, I mean, they've still only allowed 14 points, and a lot of these are upper classification. These are 5As. Pensacola Catholic, they only won 28-14, but that, if you're not familiar, that's a team that plays a lot of really good, like 3 or 4 or 5A schools in Alabama, and usually Pensacola Catholic wins. So for them to win 28-14 is pretty impressive. That's a really good program there in Pensacola. And then last week they beat Charles Henderson 63-6. I mean, Charles Henderson, I mean, that's not a
uh,
pushover.
yeah.
So that, I mean, I think that says a lot right there. So, and now they got Saraland. So, does Catholic Montgomery have a chance? Absolutely. Kirk
Yes, I
Johnson's telling
agree.
his guys right now that no one's giving him a shot. And there's probably a lot of writers out there that aren't giving him a shot. But I think it'll be a well-attended football game. I think there will be a lot of college scouts there, either hiding or in present view. Catholics won 20 straight games. Saraland has won an incredible amount of home games in a row. I want to say it's in the 30s now. Catholic has won, I want to say, 38 regular season games in a row.
Really? Wow.
Their last regular season loss was in 2020 against
Andalusia?
Montgomery Academy.
Oh,
No, it was against
Montgomery
Montgomery
Academy.
Academy.
Wow.
They lost to Andalusia in the playoffs. They beat
That's right.
Andalusia in the regular season. But yeah, the last time they lost was to Montgomery Academy, 32-21 back in 2020. For reference, the guys that are playing right now, they were not. There's a good chance they weren't playing varsity ball. So
Yeah.
or they may have been an eighth grader playing up or whatever. So yeah, it's been a long time, but something's got to give. And if KJ Lace is playing, I think it'll be a 14 point or 21 point victory for the Spartans. But if he's not playing, I think it could be a lot closer. So
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
do. So
Streaks
that
on the
is the
line.
great question. And here's another thing. If he's not, it may not matter if he's playing, because how's the rain going to affect that game?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who can run the ball better? That's what it may boil down to. It may turn to a mud bowl. Who knows? We'll just have to find out.
Well, hopefully no mud. I believe Saraland has turf. But
Well, you know what I mean.
yeah, I
You know.
know exactly what you mean. That's funny though. I know that I remember this, when Saraland played Gulf Shores earlier this year. It looked like everybody was just rolling around in the pigsty. And
Oh gosh.
and you don't see it as much.
A
21st
lot of
century
OxyClean
technology.
was used, I wonder.
Something,
Wonder how much
man.
OxyClean, yeah, something.
Something. I remember, when I played at Thompson, we didn't play many games on grass. I remember Oak Mountain had grass for the longest time, and I believe everybody else had turf. So, you'd wash the jerseys after a game. But I remember our equipment staff hated Oak Mountain Week because because you're actually gonna get real dirt on you there.
No
Um,
rubber pellets.
no, no rubber pellets. And I always like that. Obviously in lower classes, it's a lot easier to just maintain grass. And big old turf fields are not the norm down in 1A, 2A, 3A. But
No, no, it's honestly not even really.
yeah.
It's pretty uncommon, even in like 4A. Very
Do you
uncommon.
know any that have it in the lower classifications?
I know in 4A just opened this year at Anniston. Anniston just got a
That's right.
brand new, really nice one at Lot Mosby. Um, let's
Yeah.
see, they have one. Um, I'm blanking right now. Oh, Piedmont, the Field of
Piedmont.
Champions.
That's
Piedmont
right.
has
Yep.
they have an awesome stadium.
I gotta check
That's
that out.
one that has it. I mean, it's pretty much a. I don't think Pleasant Grove has turf. They might though. Pleasant Grove might have
I
turf.
think they do. I think they
Hold
do.
on.
And
I'll
they're
check
and they're
while with me.
they're a a 5A dropout down the 4A this year.
Right. They're yeah, they have a very nice turf stadium. I'm
That's
looking
right.
at right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, but like you said, they're a 5A. I mean, they are the biggest 4A school. They've been in 5A for a long time. So I mean, it's pretty uncommon. I don't know though, Vlad. I gotta tell you something about Andalusia. Well, they're in 5A,
Yeah.
but they have an awesome stadium too. They have like double deck. They have like it used
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
it used to be a minor league baseball field
Really.
that the city bought out. Yeah, look it up. That the city bought out, and it's super cool. We went there the last year, one of the last years before they made it turf, and that was the most I'm gonna get into like Hall of Fame unk mode. That was the most like well maintained grass. Like I thought it was turf when we went out there, but it was that well done. Something about a well maintained high school football field is just like it's like peak.
Really,
It's like I
really
don't know.
tickles your
It just
fancy.
yeah, it does. It's not turf, you know. It's not rubber pellets, you know. It's good old USA grass, you know. So I don't know where we were going with this, but there you go. Andalusia's got a really cool field. They had a really cool one even with the grass, but now it's even
Gushing
cooler with
over
turf.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it's really just boils down to a money thing.
Yeah,
Having
well, you know,
turf.
Jackson, that last thing about grass, Jackson Stadium, you know, there's called like Legion Stadium. Uh, confusing. They
Little
have a grass field and they do the like the Tennessee checkers,
Oh, really?
but they do it with purple and gold for the Aggies colors. So
That's a cool deal. Yeah, Jackson's got really
mm,
unique branding. But
yeah.
let's hit back on 6A here. And a pretty big interclass matchup between Spain Park and James Clemens. Spain Park traveling up north to Huntsville this week. Really, really interesting. Spain Park last week beat Benjamin Russell. James Clemens also won their game. Two unbeatens. That'll be a really nice game to watch in 6A, 7A. I think I picked Spain Park for this one, but I might be leaning a little bit James Clemens, just because of the trip that you got to take up there. I remember my sophomore year we had to travel to Sparkman, and similar circumstances. There was a hurricane on that Friday, and we played the game at 12 p.m. on Saturday, and it was hot and humid, and that sucked. The turf was burning into my cleats. I felt like my cleats were gonna
Oh,
melt, like I was out in Arizona somewhere. And that game sucked. Everything about that sucked. I'm not gonna get into that. Hopefully they won't have to do that this week. Hopefully games won't have to get moved around. But you never know how these last second changes go. I've seen it firsthand. So I think that Spain Park probably more talented team, and they've been tested with 7A opponents. Look at they played Sparkman, and they also played Hoover this year. So I think Spain Park's ready for this game. Who did you pick this week, TP?
for Spain Park versus James Clemens.
Yes.
That one was a really hard game to pick, and I'm sure that you were in the similar camp as me. I actually picked Spain Park though.
Yeah, me as well.
Um, I think it's going to be close though. Um, James Clemens has a really good running back. His name it's MJ. I'm forgetting your last name. If
I
he's
know who you're
listening,
talking about.
I'm
Yeah.
about to say he is really good. James Clemens is very good, but I think a lot of people they may just be doing the reading the book by its cover by saying, well, Spain Park is a 6A, so they're going to lose. No, Spain Park is realistically a small 7A. I mean, they were just in 7A for the last, I don't know, 10 or 12 or forever.
Yeah.
They've been 7A for as long as the classification's been around. So I think they'll be fine. I think it'll be a very close game. I think it'll be like 31-28, 31-29. Like I think it's gonna really, really be close. But I think if Spain Park wins this game, there's no question in my mind that they can make a late November run.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the same thing goes for James Clemens. I think they'll be the best team to come out of Region 4 this year.
Oh yeah.
And this is going to be, I'm glad that they're scheduling these. I spoke with some Sparkman coaches earlier this season, and the thing with Sparkman has been, they start 5-0, they finish 5-5, and then miss the playoffs. I think that's been the story of their season the past 2 years, just because they have not scheduled the quality of opponent. This year, Sparkman went out and they scheduled Hillcrest Tuscaloosa, and they scheduled Spain Park. So, you got to play these games. At the end of the day, your record's going to look a little worse, but it's going to make you a better football team. And I'm glad that they're doing it, and I'm glad that they're moving to, tougher competition, because at the end of the day, that's what Region 4 needs in order to succeed. Another big game in the Birmingham area is going to be Homewood versus undefeated Homewood against Mountain Brook, who sits at 3-2 right now. And Homewood this year, they've looked very good, but they haven't played much of anybody. Obviously, they don't play Vestavia and Mountain Brook until now. That Vestavia game got moved out of their schedule. I still don't really know all the details around that. Same thing happened with Mountain Brook Vestavia, but this game stayed. Mountain Brook this year, their two losses are pretty good. They had a 1-point loss to Oxford, and they were leading Parker 14-0 early in that game. I think the final score was a little worse than what actually happened. But do you think Homewood has a chance in this game? Where are you at right now with the Spartans and the Patriots?
Well, even in their loss to Oxford, they led that game the whole entire way
Yep.
until like the last 30 seconds. And it
Yep.
may have been the most important last 30 seconds, but nevertheless, it was that same way. So, do they have a chance? Absolutely. Does Homewood, I mean, does Mountain Brook have a good chance? Yeah, I think it'll be an evenly matched game. This is definitely this is the biggest step up in competition for Homewood so far. They've dominated, they really have, but have
Against
they
who?
played anyone like Mountain Brook? I mean, yeah, exactly. Against who? And you know, they've beaten a lot of teams badly, and the teams that they were supposed to beat badly. But it's not going to get any easier. They got Mountain Brook on the schedule. They get Gardendale after that, maybe a little bit tougher. Then they have a bye, and then they play Parker, Homewood. I'm talking about Homewood. So we'll see if they can beat Mountain Brook. Then you're looking at likely Mountain Brook versus Parker for the region championship. So if it plays out that way, which I expect it to, so I think it'll be a very close game there. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, I think it'll be a close football game. But I do expect Mountain Brook to win.
Yeah, I'd probably lean that way too, and we'll see. How our pick'ems all fold out. One more thing I want to touch on for Class 6A before we move down is Carver Birmingham, and we made a post
Yeah, I'm
about it.
happy that you mentioned that. They're a 5A, aren't they?
No, they're 6A. They're in the same. Oh, I'm
Are
sorry.
they?
Yes, yes, yes. They are
I was
5A.
about to say. I'm about to say
They
they
were
are. I'm
6A.
about to say they were 6A for like forever.
Yeah.
So
So Carver Birmingham, they're sitting in the same region as Corner, Ramsey, Winona, John Carroll, Briarwood, those sort of teams. They've got to go 1,000 miles this week. They're leaving, I believe, tomorrow. I believe somebody said they're leaving on a Wednesday. They have to go to Odessa, Texas, to play Permian High School. The one from Friday Night Lights, that movie. They got to play those guys. Um, uh, first off, what? I don't.
I
I'm
did get
not.
some more information about this.
Tell me about it.
So I'm reading from CBS 42, local Birmingham. They will be going. The send off event was today. Um, they were also raised by community partners. They got a giant check for $125,000. They're
Wow.
also doing a lot with. It's not just the football team. They're bringing other students as well. They're bringing the band, they're bringing the kids. According to Superintendent Mark Sullivan, there's also something else that the students are going to do. They're going to go on college tours. They're going to be exposing the kids something beyond Carver High School, beyond Northport, Birmingham. I personally love this. Um, Whenever I first saw it on the AHS FHS, um, I thought it was a misprint. Uh,
Me too. Wait,
but
TP,
I
you
think a
told
lot.
me, TP, you told me, you said, and I quote, I don't think this game's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I,
No, I told him that. I told that while I was on the way home from work back in like June or
yeah,
July.
yeah.
What in the world? I was like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. And for those unaware, Odessa, Texas, where Permian is kind of in the middle of nowhere.
It is.
It is east of El Paso, and that's about it. I mean, it really is kind of its own thing. I'm reading from PermianPanthersFootball.com
Absolutely.
that this will be their homecoming, and that they will have a radio and a live stream of the game on the Permian Sports Network. Looks like it's going to be very hot out there. I can't say I'm that surprised. But yeah, shout out to them making this happen. Awesome. I wish more teams did it. I know why they can't because of travel and the cost of it. I mean, we see that in college athletics. I mean, let alone inner city schools.
Yeah, this is like
So,
UAB. This is like UAB playing SMU or something like that.
or it'd
Something
be
along
like if
those
UA,
lines.
it would be like if UAB went to USC.
Yeah.
That'd be the best way of putting it. Like they go out there, UAB is not going to win that football game, but they're going to have a great time out there. They're going to lose. I remember. Sorry to get off topic, but I remember a couple of years ago, Alabama State got to play at UCLA. They got to play in the
Really?
Rose Bowl. Yeah, and one of my good friends was on that travel roster. Said it was awesome. He said they had the best time. They didn't win, but they really liked it out there. It's such a cool experience. I wish more teams did stuff like that, even in college football.
And that's to be expected with
Yeah,
this one too. Carver
yeah.
Birmingham is not going to win this game. Let me make that clear.
I hope they do,
I hope
but
they do.
they're not.
Well, I hope Columbia also wins a game, but you can't always get what you want, TP. Um, Carver's not going to win this game. Let me put it that way. Texas high school football in itself is a different beast, a different animal. And Permian's undefeated this year. Now, I don't believe they're in the highest classification of Texas high school football. They're not
But I
there
don't think
with
it matters.
DeSoto, but it doesn't matter. Neither is Harvard, Birmingham, and Alabama. Um, so yeah, it's a cool story. It's a cool deal. I don't know how these people connected. Uh, I
I,
mentioned
I
my
was told I was told the head coach of Carver Birmingham, Coach Rod Carson. I was told he had some time out in Texas as an
okay,
assistant coach.
yeah,
So
and
he
that's what I
may,
figured.
I can't confirm if he like knows the head coach or they coach together or something, but that's some sort of connection. For reference of how many, I'm just looking at it. They have been Permian is a two-time national champion. They are a six-time state champion. Um, a whole bunch of other things that would take too long to read out. They made the playoffs about every year that it's existed. It looks like so. Yeah, they're really good. And you know what, Carver though? Excuse my language. Go give them hell. Come
Go
on,
give
we're
them
rooting for
hell,
you,
baby.
Rams. Go give them
Go
hell. Go
give them
get them.
hell. Show.
Show them who's boss. Come on, Rams. So
They're gonna.
I
They're
think it's a great story, though. If y'all didn't know about it, love that for the kids. If there are any Carver Birmingham fans or players that are listening, let us know how it goes or how you like the experience. Beyond the game, just let us know how it is, and we'd love to hear more about it. And hopefully, we can talk about more about it next week.
I didn't know about that $125,000 that they were getting. I guess that sweetens the
No,
pot
I
a
didn't
little
know
bit,
about it
huh?
either, but it got reported like 4 hours ago or something like that. I
Okay.
think it was on the 6 o'clock news or something like that. So,
I got you. Yeah, that's always that's fun. You don't get to see stuff like that every day, so it deserves to be covered. Moving down to Class 4A, starts to get a little bit more murkier. I think that region one of Class 4A is really shaping out to be a good one. A lot of good teams in that bunch. St. Michael still undefeated. We're still going to wait on their game against Jackson. Orange Beach, they're 2-0 in region. Mobile Christian just lost to Jackson. They actually have to go.
Bad.
Yeah, they have to go to yeah, 49-7. They have to go to St. Stanislaus in Mississippi to play a game next week. So,
I
Mobile
can't say I
Christian.
know much about them.
No, can't say I do either. But it's interesting. There's a lot of Florida and there's a lot of Florida teams being played. WS Neal heads to Blunttown. I'm sorry, Bluntstown heads to WS Neal, and Escambia County goes to Northview, Florida. So a couple of more cross-state games. Some you usually see earlier in the year, but I guess with this being one of the open weeks in the AHSA calendar, they say why not? I mean, you're already down there by the beach. I think it would be probably closer to play a Florida team than it would be to play a Birmingham team. So, it makes logistical sense, if you will. Region 2, Op leads that region right now, only undefeated team. Region 2 looks a little bit weaker this year. There's not much there. Dale County,
Region
Pike
3
County.
is definitely
I'm getting to that.
I'm about to say it's a mixed bag. So
Yeah, absolutely. B2 Washington leads that region right now, 4-0, 3-0 in region. Your St. James Trojans got a big win over
yeah,
Talladega, 35-12. They're sitting 3-2, 3-0 in region. That's what matters. And then you've got Handley and Tallahassee and Bullitt County, who's surprised me as a much better football team this year. Very
they
impressive
should
Bullitt
have
County.
beaten Tallahassee. I don't want to get into a story mode, but they were up 18-0 against
Really?
Tallahassee,
Oh
and
no.
they Tallahassee was driving. They were down 18-14. Tallahassee spiked the football. Bullitt County thought that it was a timeout. It would seem from what I watched, it looked like they thought it was a timeout. Tallahassee lined up on the ball, and Bullock scrambled to try to get back. Ball snapped. Throws it to a wide open receiver in the back of the end zone with like 30 seconds left. Touchdown,
Man,
Tallahassee wins.
that's some pee-wee
So,
shit, dog. That's some pee-wee stuff. That's hilarious. I'll never forget. It was our seventh grade year. We were playing in Oak Mountain Middle School. I was at Thompson Middle School, and we were trying to drive down the field. We weren't very good, mind you. Surprisingly, our middle school and park ball years were not the brightest for Thompson. It looked like the Thompson of old. Um,
oh no.
and our starting quarterback. I won't say any names, but our starting quarterback threw a pass, got a few yards on third down, and he didn't know it was third down. And on fourth down and 8, he runs up and spikes it on
No,
fourth down.
no.
Um, excuse my French, shit happens. Um, shit happens, man. And that's really the case. But yeah, I think that the top four right now in that region will be the four that make the playoffs, being BTW, St. James, Hanley, and Tallahassee. Bullitt County, I think they lost their ride when they lost to Tallahassee. But who knows? Who knows with Bullitt County? They could find a way to move
Yeah,
in
that
there.
region's a whole mess, so wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll move down to 3A now for a game that we're going to be on location for this coming Thursday. So, in a few days, probably tomorrow when this podcast comes out. And that's going to be Fife versus Coosa Christian. Coosa moves up from 1A to 2A. Fife obviously moving up to 3A this year. And, this might be my only time to see Fife um, in a while. I don't see myself moving up to Fife, Alabama anytime soon. So, a game in Gadsden very much helps a brother out, if you will. So we're gonna go to Coosa Christian. Um, you know, really, really interesting. I'm gonna pick Fife for this game. I think you did as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I did,
Um,
but I think it boils down if Logan Anderson is playing or not.
really, has he been injured?
He has. I was told that he's been dealing with a hamstring, I believe,
Really?
or
Okay.
something along those lines. He hasn't played in the last couple of games, but it hasn't really mattered. They've really destroyed their teams. But
Yeah,
I
right.
imagine he's going to play for this one unless I was given false information. So
Yeah, no, this is one where you're gonna have a clash of offenses. Um, John David Justice being Coosa Christian's starting quarterback, they'll be able to throw it around a little bit, and they've got some good weapons, some good playmakers. Coosa Christian's had a real influx of talent there into that program, and head coach Mark O'Brien has really done a good job there, and especially recent years making it to the 1A state title. And I think they'll be right there in 2A. Teams like Pisgah will be there to challenge them. But I'm very excited for Coosa this year, and this is going to be a really good game. And I'll go get to see Fife's offense, which hopefully I'll get a chance to meet Coach Benefield beforehand. My good friend Bo Starkey with Average Joe Sports Media. He knows everybody in that area. He's good friends with Benefield. I got a chance when I went up there for a TV show appearance. I got to meet with Mark O'Brien and Kusa. So, I know both of these teams pretty well, and it's going to be really excited. I keep talking about how I want to go see some lower classification ball, and now I get a chance to do it. Really marquee matchup with it being on a Thursday. I think that it bodes well for our schedules, and uh, I think Fife's going to win, but do not count out the Conquerors. Um, you know, w- w- God, I feel like a broken record with saying we'll see, but that is very much the correct term to use, especially in this situation. But man, am I excited to go see Five.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a very close football game. Um, I think, you know, Five is a really strong football team. I think they'll win that game, but it's gonna be close. I think it'll be really close. I think it'll be about 20-14. That's about the way I'd lean. 20-14, 21-14. It's gonna be really close, but I'm picking the Red Devils because the Red Devils don't lose very much. So
No, they do not. No, they do not. Especially in 3A, they still don't lose. They've won a state title there before. That's gonna do it for sort of our recaps. We'll get into a few of our previews for week 6. Definitely some interesting stuff developing. We talked about Hoover and Prattville's game a little bit. Hoover hasn't having to play Parker now. Where are you at with this game? I know we mentioned it earlier in the podcast. I believe I picked Hoover to win this game. I think you picked Parker, if I'm not mistaken. So where are you at with Parker? And I'll tell you where I'm at with Hoover.
I think if Parker's quarterback starting, I think they will win. Now, if he is not, I think it'll be a lot closer. But they showed last week it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah,
They are just
yeah,
that talented. They will force turnovers. I I think I think Parker's just so talented. I think last week really showed that even while continuing to learn off this offense and improving by week, you can see the improvements. That didn't look like the same Parker team that started against Ramsey. You know, so I see the week to week improvement. I think they're going to come in with a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth, and I think they're going to do really well. I don't. I think it's going to be a really close football game, but how many points can you score in Parker? If
yeah,
maybe you can get them on special teams. That'd be the only you know, are they going to clean up the special teams? If they don't, they're going to lose. They're not going to win a state championship. Plain and simple. There are a lot of really good teams in 6A that are good at special teams, and Parker right now is not one of them. So if they really want to win a 6A title, they need to clean that up. So if they lose to Hoover, I really think it'll boil down to special teams.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you. I think that Hoover will win this game. Um, it kind of a shock to say this, but I think that Hoover is probably the second best team in Region 3 right now, with the way that they've played. And, we harp on that only loss against Spain Park, with that being a rivalry and all. But I think if Mac Beeson is on, if Jonah Winston is on, if they can get that run game going like we know that they can, I think that Hoover has the offensive line to stand up to Vaughn Cleveland and Jordan Crawford and all that elite talent. But there's not many places to go against the Parker defense. I've just got a feeling that Hoover's going to win this game. Another interclass matchup that we have is Clay Chalkville versus Thompson. And, we all know what happened, last year with Jalen Mbakwe leading the charge. in Alabaster, able to win that game, with Clay's magical season. Clay still hasn't lost since then. They still have not lost a football game. And while they may not have the same name recognition of a Jalen Mbakwe, they still a very good football team, even after losing Corey Barber to Spain Park, even after losing Mbakwe, you know, um, losing the offensive lineman at Thompson. This is a team that had a lot taken away from them, but Coach Stuart Floyd's got these boys rolling right now, and they're going to head back into Alabaster for another dogfight. Do you think Chalkville has a legitimate chance of winning this game?
Does Clay Chalkville have a chance? Yes.
Absolutely, I do.
Um,
I think they have more
yeah,
of a chance than what some people are giving them.
yes. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, darn, they're not, they don't have Mbakwe, they don't have, Coach Drew Gilmer, they don't have any of that. This ain't the same team. But if you look at how they played, they've looked really good. This is not, this
Yes.
is not a team to, roll your eyes at. It's still a really good team. Do I think that Aaron Fry has also been balling as
He's a
well?
good quarterback, let me tell you
He
though.
is so good. My question is, can Aaron Fry and Clay score on Thompson? It's kind of similar to what I was asking about Hoover. Can they score on Thompson? Thompson's got excellent defense. It's not been about Thompson's defense. It's been about Thompson's offense. Can Clay's defense hold Thompson without Jalen Mbakwe? That was the big X factor last year. They put Jalen Mbakwe on defense.
That's right.
So, and he'd play quarterback, but then he'd play defense, and woo, he is so good on defense. I'm pretty sure he rotates in with the ones with Bama, with
He
Alabama.
plays. Yeah, he plays. He's
I'm
also
about to say,
their
I
think he's their
he's
punt
their punt
returner.
returner. He's their punt
I
returner,
wonder where
but
he
I
got
know
that
he
from.
plays.
Yeah.
I know he plays, but yeah, I think Clay Thompson's got a really good shot. I like what the computer says that it's 6 points. That's about what I'd have it as. Is Thompson a 6 point favorite? I think it'll be about 20. I think it'll be about 24 to 16, honestly, somewhere in that ballpark. I think Thompson wins just because I worry if Clay's defense can stop Thompson's offense. And I worry if Clay can score on Thompson's defense. But I think they are definitely a worthy challenger. I think they will lead for a good amount of the game. But I think at the end of the day, Thompson's Thompson, and they're going to find a way to win.
Yeah. I think you said it better than I could. Um, I, with the way that this game went last year, I think Thompson. We talk about Thompson being the top dog so much. They've got a chip on their shoulder for this football game. And I think that this is going to be one that they're very giddy to win. I don't think that Clay Chalkville's on the level they were last year. But Thompson's still got to find out who their top receiver is going to be. Mikey Dujon, though, their starting running back number 5, has been absolutely toting the rock this year. Very impressed with the way that he's played and he's ran, and the way that Thompson's offensive line has blocked for him. So, with that being said, I think that Thompson will win this game pretty handedly. And we keep seeing Trent Seaborn develop more and more as a quarterback. He's able to throw on the run much better than previous years. I think that's been one of my biggest things with him. And the way that he's able to see the high school game right now is right up there with KJ Lacey and some of the other top quarterbacks really in the country. With him being a class of 27 kid, dude's already been playing football for 3 years, and Freeman's gonna have him ready. DeFore's gonna have the defense ready. I'm gonna go with the Warriors in this one. Now we will move over to my favorite section of the podcast, being Ask Bama Preps. TP, did you like the questions last week?
Before we get to AskBamaPreps, I want to jump to one thing that we had already talked about that I didn't know
All right, let's
until I
hear it.
did a little bit of research. So, for reference, if you were wondering, how big is the school that Carver Birmingham's playing them? They're playing the team that it's on Friday Night Lights, but are they big? We can talk about Fife all we want. We can tell someone from Texas about Fife, but you look at their student size, and you're like, what the heck? It's like they you wouldn't think. Well, I did a little bit of research, and according to this list, Permian High School is the fifth largest high school in Texas.
Jesus.
With for reference, if you're wondering, well, bigger than schools like who? Well, they have 200 more students than Duncanville. So I
And they're out in the
um
middle of nowhere. I
yeah,
mean, probably
you
not for
know,
Texas standards, but you know what I'm saying.
right, and they have, according to Greg Tepper of the TexasFootball.com, they have in their high school 4,905 students, only behind Allen, who I'm sure you've seen TikToks and Instagrams of, Plano East, Plano West, and Conroe. So they are bigger than Duncanville and North Shore, which is around Houston.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little tough for them. And by the way, one last thing, and then we're gonna get to Bama Preps. I found their all-time record. You know, we have that on the AHS FHS.
Yeah, lay it on
Permian
me.
High School's all-time record is 566 wins to 194 losses. So
It's a pretty good percentage,
that's
I'd
pretty
say.
good, Vlad.
I'd say, you know.
You know what? I think it's time to get 195 losses.
That's
So
right, baby.
this,
Come on. Go Rams, baby. Go
that's gonna
Rams,
go.
baby. All about the
So go
Rams. Come
Rams,
on.
go Rams. I got you, boys.
Come on. We believe, all right? We
We
believe.
definitely do. We definitely do.
What do you think would happen if Fife went to there? If Fife went to Permian? All right.
I think the offense would. I think they would applaud it. The Benefield
I
offense.
do
I
too.
think they'd get a standing ovation.
I do too. I honestly, I think I think Fife honestly, dude, I think Fife would like kind of like shell shock them for at least a quarter.
Yeah,
Like,
because that is like
when's the
that's like
last time
Stone Age stuff in Texas, you know.
when's the
So
last time you've seen when's the last time you think Permian has seen a double handoff?
I don't know.
I
Probably not
don't
in a
know.
while.
I don't know who their competition is, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's hilarious. But yeah, we'll move into our Ask Bama Preps section. Jack the Keeper, a noted listener of the podcast, I appreciate you, Jack, says, "Do y'all think Central can hang with IMG and keep it within 2 touchdowns, and or possibly win?" Um, I don't think Phoenix City is going to win this game. But I also said the same thing 3 years ago when they were a much weaker team, believe it or not, and they led IMG for a big part of that game. I think that Phoenix City, if this game, God willing, it gets played, I think Phoenix City will probably, I'm going to make a bold claim here. I think they lead at halftime. But at the end of the day, that's a college team down there in Branton, Florida. As you know, TP, as you've seen. Um,
Oh yeah.
I think that Phoenix City, and I have a very I have a vision for this game. I think that Phoenix City could win, and I'm excited to see. I really am. What are your thoughts on that, TP?
Do I think they could win? Yeah. Do I think they will? No. And
No.
that's because it's a couple of things. You know, I think the big thing, and I said this to our guy Larry, and, you know, it's nothing to do with Central or nothing like that. It's nothing. It's not a, you know, anything wrong against them. It is simply the matter of depth.
Yep.
The problem with facing the likes of IMG College is that you get yourself, you know, teams get out to these leads, but they can't maintain them. And you may be going, well, that's football, TP. That's stupid. Well, it's because of depth. At the end of the day, the guys that are riding the bench for IMG are likely 3 and 4 stars. And those guys are starting on these other teams that they're playing. Maybe not on Central Phoenix, but a lot of them would, depending on the position. I think they would. It boils down to depth. They wear you down. It's a combination of talent, depth, and well coached.
Yep.
They are literally like a college team. They don't lose. They're not supposed to lose. They openly recruit. They don't hide that because they're a college. I've been down there. It is a really nice facility. It's not a high school, y'all. It is like a private college. I think IMG will win. I think Central will give them a hell of a game. And I think Central will be proud of the way that they'll play IMG. I think it'll get away from 'em a little bit late though. I'll go with IMG 38, Central Tennessee 27. That'll be my final score prediction.
Yeah, that I'm right there. I'm right there with you, TP. I was thinking along the lines of 34 to 21, 34-24. Um, with a halftime score, I guess I'll give you a halftime score of, 14 to 10,
Red
Central.
Devils.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we've seen that blueprint of game happen before, and it's easy to copy and paste it over into this one just because, we've seen these two teams play. Um, and I have another question for you. How big is IMG's football stadium? Because I know they
It's
have one.
big.
Is it?
It's
Because
big. It may not be as big as you would think.
well, they're not exactly they don't have a city behind them. Um,
No.
their student
They
section,
I mean they got a Jumbotron. I mean the home side is huge.
really.
Um it's very large. But I mean it is just like it's not a high school. I mean like that's the thing. Um I mean, whenever you think of high school, you may think of the movies, you may think of your personal time in high school. I mean, if you look at the stadium though, it's not that big. Like the home side is big, but it's nothing like out of the blue. I mean, and then you look around though, and you notice that there's a ginormous multi-million-dollar practice facility and indoor stuff that you would see at like colleges. If you see IMG Stadium and you told me this is a Division II school in Bradenton, Florida, I'd believe you.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not. And it's crazy how it works down there. So it's just that, it's not really a school. They don't go to classes. They may quote unquote go to class. They don't go to classes or they don't have real classes. You know, um, it's I don't like it. I don't like it.
You're not a
I don't
fan of
think
that
it's good.
model?
No, I don't think it's right
That's fair. I
because
mean, it's fair to say.
I mean, whenever I think of high school football, I think of Permian. To be honest with you, that's a high school right there. I think of Texas high school football. I think of Fife. I think of Hoover. I think of Thompson. I don't think of kids moving thousands and thousands of miles away to go down and usually only play 1 year with
Yeah.
IMG. I don't know why, but they
Well,
usually
Anthony
just play
Anthony
1 year.
Rogers did it.
Anthony Rogers did it. James Smith did it. Um, I understand. It's the opportunity. It's cool. It is cool. I mean, to say that you play at IMG, that's almost like saying that you play at Alabama, which is crazy to say about a high school, though. It could be for developmental. I'm all for kids getting more developed and all, but like, I don't think this is the right model. And they can't play teams in Florida. The FHSAA barred them from playing teams in Florida, I believe.
Really?
And I know they can't play teams in Georgia. I know that one. Let me check the map spread. So let me not misspread information. Let me not
That's
let me
that's
not do.
really
I
interesting.
know they
Wow.
can't play teams in Georgia. I know they can't. I know that for a fact because they said it's not fair. You know, I mean that's what they said. It's not a real school. They have their legal reasons. There. But like you type in IMG Academy on MaxPreps. Here you go. IMG Academy Gray, IMG Academy Navy, IMG Academy White, IMG Academy Gold, IMG Academy Silver, IMG Academy Black,
All
IMG
right, all
Academy
right, all
Royal.
right, all
Yeah,
right, all
yeah.
right, okay,
You see
okay,
what I'm
okay,
saying?
okay.
Yeah. But it's just whenever you have that, it's I mean, do you like that that it's like that? Do you think they should, they do play teams in Florida, I was wrong, but they don't play teams in Georgia. I mean, do you like it? I mean, do you think they should be around? I mean, I'm fine with them being around. I don't have to like them, but are you okay with IMG?
Um, well, I think at their essence, they take away high school football players from real high schools and move them down there to play in a national travel roster. I think that in a way, it does improve you and aspects that an actual high school can't. You have, college level coaches down there, your facilities. You're focused on nothing but football, as you mentioned. It is much more of a college experience than it is a high school experience. And you can make the argument of preparing yourself and having that um, so you can get ready for the next level. But, I think I'm on the same boat with you as, but I want to have those high school experiences. I'm so happy and so blessed that I was able to go to Thompson and experience that. But there's other players that play in 1A football, 2A football that are just out there for the love of the game. So and there's a difference between that and someone who's going to be a 5-star recruit going to Alabama or Georgia. Um, I I'm glad that they're not playing for a high school state title. And I
No,
know
and I'm happy because they're not allowed to.
yeah,
That's what it is. So
exactly. Teams like Miami Central, teams like Madonna High School in, Miami area, those teams play. They're real high schools. IMG's not a real high school. They're sort of a bastardized child of a high school, if you will. So, I say if they want to play Bishop Gorman, if they want to play St. Francis, if they want to play these national teams like Phoenix City, even, I think that it gets those high schools better. It gives IMG opponents. So I'm not completely against it. I don't like it. I get its purpose, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. You sort of get what I'm saying there.
no, I get it, and that's kind of how I feel. It's like, do I like that it exists? No. Do I understand why it exists? Absolutely. If I had a 5-star quarterback and he had the option to play at my local high school or to play at IMG Academy for a year and get developed, I'm sending him to IMG Academy.
Yeah.
I get it. I absolutely get it. Do do I as a fan like it? No. But you know what I will say? I respect the heck out of Central Phoenix City for calling them up. I respect any team that calls up IMG Academy and schedules them. Because we don't have those type of schools in Alabama.
Well, you sure? Hold
We
on. There's that one that said that IMG was coming to Birmingham, Birmingham Southern Society.
well, we're not gonna talk about that.
No, we're
But
not. That was
no,
ridiculous.
we have high school. We don't have the we're not the we don't have an IMG. There's these other schools that you talk about. Saint Francis, Bishop Gorman. They're not like IMG, but they are similar. That they have a heavy football presence, I should say. You know, while at the end of the day, Central Phoenix City, Auburn, Thompson, Hoover, they have great football programs that will play anyone on any given day. At
Right.
the end of the day, they're still just a high school. They're kids that go there just to get their education. You know, and there's not that at IMG. No one's going there for to study economics. So I mean, at the end of the day, they're not. So I'm fine with it. I'm fine that it exists. If you go there, more power to you. Turbo went there, James Smith went there. A lot of great players have gone there for a year, come back. Um, yeah, it's just I just don't like it for as a high school football fan though.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's gonna do it for our episode here. Ask Bama Preps. There wasn't too much. It was just really predictions that we've already covered. Um, but heading into this week, the story gets told more and more. Another puzzle piece gets put into place, and we're looking forward to all the games and all the happenings. Um, but any closing remarks first, TP? Anything that you want to say? Anything that you want to touch on real quick? Um, before we
Yeah,
close it up here today?
yeah, a couple things. I know I've rambled a lot about a lot of different things. I appreciate you having me on. If you guys are wondering if you're players, because I know that you guys listen, if you go to AHS, FHS, the playoff brackets are on there now.
Oh,
They're
really?
officially on there. Yep, they are on there. I'm looking at them right now. You can go check. Um, as teams win regions, once you win your region, David will put you in your spot. We haven't put anyone in there because, well, no one's won their region yet. So if you want to see how it plays out, you can see it, and it's just going to look like a bunch of numbers and letterings at first, and you're going to be like, "What does this mean?" Well, you just gotta have to piece it together. Piece the puzzle together. So they are out though on there. And if you guys ever have any questions, or if you want to message or talk to me or Vlad about stuff in football, about what we do, or outside of football, because we're real human beings, you are more than welcome to message either one of us. And we'd love to get to know you a little bit more, talk to you, hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. That'll do it for us in episode 14. We appreciate everybody who listens, and we will see you guys in the next one.